All right. Hi, my name is Alejandra. I am a student at Edmonds Community College. I'm taking Anthropology 206 with Christina Fuchs, and I am studying on the Bahai faith.
So let me ask you. I know you've come a long way from Linwood over here, and what was it like when you met our Baha'i community over here?
So everyone I met with was so friendly. Nobody looked at me funny or tried to run away from me when I wanted to interview them. Everyone was really open with all their beliefs with the Baha'i faith and were so helpful in helping me write my paper.
And the topic of your paper is what?
Is for religion, gender, and marriage.
And the aspect from those three topics would be from the Baha'i perspective?
Yes, of course.
From the Baha'i perspective. So therefore you interviewed some of the people that gave you family and cultural in their backgrounds?
Yes.
So it's sort of like a real live family that you were able to interview,
Yes.
right? Okay, and then you also helped us in the museum. What did you think of the museum?
The museum is so cool. You learn so many little things on actual dates and people that helped form the Baha'i religion. You learn from the very beginning to the very present, and it also is a great way to write your paper.
That is wonderful, and I noticed that you used heart to heart
Yes.
for some of your topics. What did you think of heart to heart? Was it helpful?
Yes. So Heart to Heart helped me really, like, everything that I interviewed the people with. It just summed it up into more broad points for my paper, but I will still be using my interviewees' words, just putting it all together with Heart to Heart.
And one of the good things with heart to heart that you had there the actual commentary from the Revelation of Baha'u'llah, rather than using the interviews for what you're going to do. You're going to combine what you learned in the interviews and what Baha'u'llah had to say about the topic, right?
Yes.
So you had a primary source and a secondary source in your study, which I think is sort of important, isn't it?
Yes, it is important.
It's very important. And so what did you think about the Baha'i faith, the little few things that you've learned?
Okay, so one huge point that I think everyone I interviewed told me about, that in a divorce for the Baha'i faith, you have to wait a year. You cannot just divorce off of anger, off of whatever it is that's happening at that very moment. You have to work things out, or at least try to work things out throughout that whole year. Of course, if at the end of that year you still want to divorce, you totally can, but it's a way of other people just divorcing just because of the moment, just because of anger or whatever it is that's happening, and you get the time to think about it and really try to work things out for the marriage and your family, of course.
What did you learn from the culture and language? Did you give that a little bit of thought?
So the culture, really, I met with one lady from Iran, and the other one is from the Caribbean, and they have two different languages, of course, and you see so many different cultures in the Baha'i faith, and it's really not like, you know how Catholics, it's most of Mexico, most of Europe and things like that. The Baha'i faith is everywhere around the world.
It is everywhere, isn't it? And what was one of the main themes? Did you find there was something about the oneness of all the religions and races?
What I found the most important was equality. Everyone I spoke with talked to me about equality. The lady from Iran told me how she chose to follow the Baha'i faith. She was born into it, but she chose to keep on following it just because of equality. And not just because of it, but in Iran, it's mostly Muslim and everything else is 1%. And she was part of that 1%. And she felt that growing up with the fact of one man equals two women is just not right. And in the Baha'i faith, equality. So a man and a woman is the same. And she loves that, and I think that's great too.
And so, what do you think about, where your generation, where you're moving into? What do you think some of the aspects of the Baha'i faith that you have heard, what do you think would be good for the future of men or your generation, or youthful generation?
So I feel pretty much the Baha'i faith, there's no limitations, I guess. You're free to marry whoever you want, believe in whatever you want, study whatever you want. There's no, it's not frowned upon if you marry someone of a different color, culture. It's all open, and I think that's great because there's no prejudice.
And what did you think about, for instance, if you look into the future of the Earth is but one country, and some of the solutions where the Baha'is are quite neutral in their approach, but what did you think of some of those principles of the Baha'i faith? I actually have them on the wall behind me up there.
Yes.
See them?
Yes. So the oneness of humankind, of course, is the equality that I was talking about earlier. And one thing that I remember that you mentioned to me, that they want everyone to have one language throughout the world, so everyone can just learn that language and be able to communicate with anyone wherever you go. And I think that's so important, because why have translators everywhere, You could just learn that language, have everyone come to agreement with that, and that would just make the world so much easier, I believe.
Yes, and and I don't want to take up too much of your time, because I know you have your paper to write, and we look forward to see a copy of that. And so is there sort of something that you would like to say to the Baha'i community as from your sort of summarizing your experience?
Yes, I would like to say thank you so much for being so friendly with me and taking your time to let me interview you and letting me use your names in my paper. That will help so much. I met some of the families I've interviewed. I met your kids, and they're so nice and sweet too. And I just love how open you guys are to everything.
Well, we want to thank you. It's really been a privilege for us to sort of engage with you and give you a different experience with history and families and language and culture. So I wish you the very best, and thank you very much for taking our time with us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.